It's what people with class say. It's what people who are demure and mindful say. I am neither of those things. Actually, that's not true. I am occasionally mindful. Demure, me, the why, the fuck, me, demure, no, the think so. Anyway, let's burn it down with Kim Brown. Thank you guys so much for making the time to be here. We do this every Tuesday, Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We blaze oppression, beloveds, and sometimes it's the people that look like you, aka your own niggas, who be the ones trying to oppress you and hold you back, but steadily telling you it's somebody else. But the gag is it could be the both of them, okay? As much as Kamala Harris, pardon me for the mispronunciation, Kamala Harris and the Democrats are desperately and dare I say with some success convincing people that a Donald Trump White House, a Trump Vance ascension to the White House again will somehow result in fascism. It will result in the end of democracy. Kamala Harris, a clip I almost pulled, but why? Because y'all have seen her say this 50,000 fucking times. Here come Kamala Harris. Donald Trump has vowed to weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, against his political opposition, against his political adversaries. And democracy is on the line right now. We cannot afford to lose our democracy. I wonder how the Democrats define democracy. Do they mean literally the ability to cast votes, to go to the ballot box and vote for the candidate of your choice? Is that what you guys think that the Democrats mean by democracy? It's kind of what it sounds like. But when you look past someone's words, aka their bullshit, and pay a little bit closer attention to their deeds, it is quite revelatory. Now, many of you have been known this, and for those that don't know this, let me tell you. In a number of battleground states, key states across the electoral map, state party Democrats filed lawsuits to try to remove third party candidates off of the ballot. This has been an ongoing story for this entire election cycle, but there's been some movement. Okay. So we're talking about the likes of Dr. Cornel West, Claudia De la Cruz, Dr. Jill Stein, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, Jr. has cleared the way for his removal off a number of state ballots after he expressed his support and I suppose Nepo baby consolidation of support behind Donald Trump, you know, his class homie. So that's not probably going to fall under objection, but the objection remains in the states in which the other candidates are being challenged, not by Trump and Kennedy, but by Democrats. Will, can you put up that first article for me, please? Because there's been a number of rulings over here in the past week. Them shits have been cray-cray, and they have been wide ranging. So let's start in Georgia. So in Georgia, a judge says that 4 independent and third party candidates must be thrown off the ballot. Okay. They gone. And this includes, it does include RFK, but fuck him. He's already taken himself or is attempting to take himself off the ballot. But this does include Dr. West, Claudia De la Cruz from the Party of Socialism and Liberation. And is Jill Stein on this one? She is. Green Party candidate for president, Dr. Jill Stein. We know Dr. West is running as an independent. If you're in the state of Georgia, as of right now, you're not going to be able to cast a vote for anybody except for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Libertarian presidential candidate. Okay. This comes after a ruling by an administrative law judge who basically claimed that the third party candidates had not met the threshold to qualify for the ballot. And the judge used, I won't say obscure, but the law sounds fucking obscure. I think this is from, the law was passed in Georgia in 2017 or 2018, which basically said that it's not enough for a third party candidate to simply meet the baseline of signatures. They have to receive sworn affidavits from would-be electors, right? And in addition to, voters in the primary wouldn't or should not be voting for the individual candidates themselves. They should be voting for these electors. It sounds like some fucking higgy haga, okay? Some fucking higgy haga. Now, but the kicker is two things. So this judge has made this ruling, which at this moment disqualifies Dr. West, De la Cruz, and Dr. Stein from the ballot. Okay. However, this judge's decision is not final because ultimately the Georgia Secretary of State, Raffensperger, what's this nigga's name? With Galifianakis. I don't know. One of them whites with the multisyllabic name, Raffensperger, that Bama. It's up to him to decide whether or not these candidates will remain on the ballot. And I believe the decision is his and his alone. His office has already said that they are examining the judge's ruling. But again, the Georgia Secretary of State is not bound by this ruling. Okay. But the kicker is who brought the fucking lawsuit, right? Because ultimately, all of these candidates, West, De La Cruz, and Jill Stein, had met threshold per the Georgia State Board of Elections and per the Secretary of State to be on the ballot. It was the Georgia state Democrats who filed the lawsuit to throw these candidates off the ballot. As you guys recall, Joe Biden, excuse me, Ho Biden, only won Georgia by less than 12,000 votes, as you guys recall. So where my Trumpers at? Would your man's call? Your man's called the Georgia Secretary of State and said, my nigga. He said, I need you to find 11,474 votes so I can run the fucking table, right? Your man's Don. That's what Donald said. His attempt to be stealing some votes. So here come the Democrats like, no, we can't just let Trump steal all the votes. We need our chance to steal some votes too. And here's how you do it. You steal votes by not even letting the candidates on the ballot, baby. I'm sorry. Isn't the Democrats the same party of we need to pass the John Lewis voter equality, whatever the fuck. We got to pass that shit for John Lewis. We got to do it for John Lewis, everybody. He had his head bust in by the police. We got to do it for John Lewis, as they still approve new funding for the police and don't do fuck all to expand or improve voting rights. In fact, here we are, the Democratic Party of 2024, trying to literally steal votes away from the likes of Jill Stein, Claudia De la Cruz, and Cornel West as candidates, but more broadly stealing votes from their parties and from their supporters. Okay. Ain't shit democratic about that, beloveds. That sounds like dirty fucking tricks. Okay. All of this shit is dirty fucking macking. This is just starting in Georgia. Okay. To be clear. So that is going to be somewhat resolved by September 17th because the state of Georgia has to start mailing out its mail-in ballots to members of the military, etc., by September 17th. So the Georgia Secretary of State has to make this decision relatively soon whether or not to allow these candidates on the ballot. Now, for those that are watching from out of the country, America is a fucked up place. I'm sure you guys know this already. Okay. The laws and norms and mores of this goddamn wretched colony don't really make a lot of fucking sense. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure how a judge can make one ruling and a state official ultimately have the end all be all decision. But it is a hodgepodge of how shit is allowed to fly in this country. So that is what's happening in Georgia. We will be watching to see what direction and decision that the Georgia Secretary of State ends up making, and whether or not these independent party candidates will be allowed back on the ballot. So where should we go next? Will take me to WIYY. Or was that HYY? Yes, I'm sorry. Shout out to the NPR affiliate out here, WHYY. out of Philadelphia, because Pennsylvania also a very critical battleground state, hotly contested. And it says that the Democrats get a third party hopeful in Pennsylvania knocked off of the Pennsylvania ballot. And they would be referring to Claudia De la Cruz of the Party of Socialism and Liberation. The article goes on to detail the ways, again, in which the Pennsylvania state Democrats engineered this lawsuit to keep Claudia De la Cruz off of the ballot. The judge, by the name of Judge Brigance Ledbetter, said that Claudia De la Cruz's application to be on the Pennsylvania ballot was, quote, fatally flawed, and went on to explain how the reason why she won't be allowed on the Pennsylvania ballot has to do with the electors that she had pledged to be voting for her. A number of them were already registered Democrats. So state party Democrats challenged this, saying that in Pennsylvania, you cannot declare as an elector for one candidate whilst voting in the party of not your party. not your party. This is not your party. So that is how Claudia De la Cruz, and is Dr. West knocked off this joint too? I think so, beloveds. These out here playing the game dirty. Oh, yes, Cornel West not going to be on the ballot in Pennsylvania either. Now, what's interesting here is that this is happening also not just in Pennsylvania, but in Arizona, I think Nevada. There are some Republican backed entities that are trying to get involved here, putting up, trying to either file lawsuits on behalf of, or basically extending support towards the independent third party candidates to keep them on the ballot. Now, this isn't in the spirit of altruism or that these Republican entities believe in democracy. No, it serves a very strategic purpose, obviously. If Cornel West and Claudia De la Cruz and Dr. Jill Stein, if these people are on the ballot who would be courting, or rather be attracting, voters who I suppose otherwise might be Democrats, right? But for the Democrat being a fucking piece of shit party that is beholden to corporate interests, that is beholden to APAC interests, that doesn't give a fuck about climate and children and the things that they claim to care about, right? Like, but for the Democrats being all the way shitty, people voting for Claudia De la Cruz or people voting for Jill Stein or Cornel West might be voting Democrat, right? So when we're talking about very narrow state victory margins, like I said, Georgia last time, 12,000 votes separated Joe Biden from Donald Trump. If we're talking about the margins in the hundreds or even low thousands, every vote counts. And the Democrats are here to ensure that all y'all would be hippy dippy leftists, y'all think y'all socialist for and shit. y'all think y'all pro Palestine and anti-Zionist and shit. No, you're not going to have a candidate on the ballot. No candidate for you. Nope. Because Cornel West, if he's there, you might be tempted to pull the lever for him. If Claudia De la Cruz is on the ballot, you might be tempted to pull the lever for her instead of Kamala Harris. I'm sorry, Kamala Harris. Democrats can't have that. They can't have you just out here voting for whoever the fuck you want. How are they going to save democracy if you just out here voting for whoever the fuck you want? Does that make any sense? Absolutely not. So we have to go to court. We have to file lawsuits in order to keep the likes of De la Cruz, West, and Jill Stein off the ballots. But Michigan, whoa. Some shit switched up in Michigan, y'all. Michigan went a different direction. Now, Will, if you could cue up that video for me, please. Because the state Democrats in Michigan, along with the Secretary of State in Michigan, filed to make sure that Dr. West was not going to be on the ballot. This is not what I'm looking for. And that was challenged, obviously. Hold on. This is not working. No, everything is working. What I'm looking for is not working, but that's okay because we're going to pull it up. So I want us to check out the testimony from a person who spoke at the, I believe it was a hearing of the Michigan canvassers. This is a part of the state election apparatus. And this person spoke not so much in defense of Cornel West specifically, because I know Cornel West was targeted here by the Michigan State Democrats. But who we're going to hear from, I believe this is Joseph Kishore. And I want us to hear what Joseph has to say because he gave a very, I think, unbiased and very fair critique of how nasty these Democrats are operating. Okay, for all the cries about fascism, and we have to guard against fascism, so we have to guard against a Trump reelection, we have to protect and save democracy. Then why are these motherfuckers behaving so goddamn undemocratic? Why are they working so hard to literally exclude people who have a fraction of the resources, who have a fraction of the money that Kamala Harris has? Why are they working so hard to keep liberal? And I'm pardon me, that's insulting. They're not liberals. I'm sorry. Why are they working so hard to keep leftists off the ballot? You know why, and I know why. Maybe some of our new friends in here do not know why, but I want us to listen to Joseph talk to and address the Michigan canvassers and about how fucking wrong it is to exclude people from the ballot simply because they are an inconvenience or their candidacy may stand in the way of your candidate, which is not a good reason, by the way, to try to get somebody off the ballot. But let's take a listen.
First of all, I just want to say that I'm not speaking on behalf of the West campaign, either legally or politically. I have differences as, you have just approved my own petition to be on the ballot for the state of Michigan earlier in this session. I'm the presidential candidate of the Socialist Equality Party and running as an independent candidate. I would like to state, however, that I fully support the right of Cornel West to appear on the ballot and call on this body to vote to certify that result today. What has in fact happened? Cornel West and his supporters have submitted over 26,000 signatures. Your own staff has decided and recommended that you approve this petition, saying that it has a confidence level of 99.9%, that a sufficient number of signatures have been obtained. You are now talking about the possibility of imposing new requirements, newer procedures for the West campaign to submit in order to satisfy the requirements, as has been pointed out at a very late stage in this process. If such a decision is made, it is in fact an outrageous attack on the rights of the voters of Michigan, and on basic democratic rights. I want to make three additional points. First, the requirements for independent candidates to get on the ballot in Michigan and other states throughout the United States are extremely onerous and undemocratic as they are already. The United States talks about defending democracy all over the world, but for independent candidates to get on the ballot, third parties requires oftentimes tens of thousands, if not even more, signatures of registered voters just to get on the ballot. And even when those procedures are satisfied, there are still further attempts to keep candidates off the ballot. It is, in fact, outrageous. Second, it has to be pointed out that those arguing to keep West off the ballot, the challengers, as well as the lawyers, are leading members of the Democratic Party, that is, political opponents of Cornel West. They are discussing and seeking to prevent and this is how it will be seen, I think correctly, their political opponents from being on the ballot so that the voters of Michigan are unable to vote for anyone besides the two candidates of the Democratic and Republican parties. And they are specifically seeking to prevent workers and others in Michigan from being able to vote for West, and if they so choose to do so. And the final point I would just make is that related to that, when we're speaking not just about the democratic rights of independent candidates, but fundamentally the democratic right to vote. If a candidate cannot appear on the ballot, it severely undermines the ability of people to vote. And that is what is at issue. People have the right to vote for candidates that they want to vote for. It's the most, in some sense, fundamental of all democratic rights, the right to vote. And efforts to prevent systematically unending obstacles for independent candidates to get on the ballot made by the Democratic and Republican parties who control the whole political system to prevent other candidates from getting on the ballot is an attack on democratic rights, an attack on the most fundamental democratic right of all, the right to vote. So I do call on this body to certify what has been, in fact, the will of the petitions, the process through which independent candidates have to get on the ballot has been satisfied. Your own staff has said that it is 99.9% confident that those procedures have been satisfied. And then the obligation of this body is, in fact, to allow the voters of Michigan to have the right to vote for the candidates they choose.
Yep. That's Joseph Kishore. I hope I'm saying his name right, but I'm sure he's used to people maybe not saying his name correctly. Kishore. That's how Kishore. I'm not sure. I have difficulty with European names. They're very, difficult to pronounce sometimes. I don't know why. Socialist and Equality Party candidate. And a couple things there. I appreciate, number one, him wearing a mask. If you guys don't know, we're back in a COVID surge. Who the fuck knew? Oh, y'all wait till these first couple of weeks of school come back, kids. Oh shit. We can talk about COVID another day, but I appreciate them making a show to wear a mask. So thank you so much for doing that, Mr. Kishore. But I appreciate him also pointing out the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. Remember, the party that's here to protect democracy and to protect us from the fascism of Donald Trump. Kamala Harris has repeatedly said that Trump intends to weaponize the Department of Justice against his political opponents. Well, then I suppose the Democrats just intend to weaponize state board of elections against their political opponents. I see weaponization of institutions controlled by whoever's in power. I see the weaponization on all sides here. Okay. If you think that anybody in America literally has the ability to cast a vote freely and the ability to vote for whoever they want, you have to think again, kids. And if you believe naively that the Democrats are the choice here, because if not, then I guess Trump is going to roll the MAGA tanks down the street, which again, maybe I don't put past Trump. But conversely, who is the party in charge attempting to build and fund and authorize cop cities across the country? A number of these would-be cop training facilities that siphon off hundreds of millions of dollars away from communities. A lot of these are being greenlit and funded and voted for by Democratic politicians. Okay. So again, miss me with Trump is bringing the fascism. I need you to fucking pay attention to what's happening in Cop City in Atlanta, the proposed Cop City in New Jersey, the proposed Cop City in Baltimore, the cop training academy somewhat recently opened in Chicago. All of these Democratic controlled places want to refund the police, and Kamala Harris wants to help them out. But in addition to that bit of fascism that the Democrats very proudly advocate and stand behind, the one issue you thought that the Democrats had on lock was the vote, right? the John Lewis freedom voted. And I'm not mocking John Lewis at all. I'm mocking the how they invoke the memory of John Lewis. And maybe I am mocking John Lewis because from what I understand, after he got bust upside his head, after he got co-opted into the system and by the machine, John Lewis tamped that shit down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He wasn't talking as radical as he was when he was a younger man once he got elected to Congress and that hairline started to go all the way bad, right? Maybe that was his punishment from the Lord. Regardless, regardless, when you hear the Democrats extol that we got to do it for the John Lewis Justice and Voting Act, nigga, ain't no justice in voting when the Democrats themselves are suing to keep people off of the ballot. People that have, by and large, have outright met the threshold to be added to the ballot, right? Here come Kamala Harris and state Democrats from Michigan, Georgia, Pennsylvania, I believe, throw Arizona and Nevada out there too. Oh, but you guys, Dr. West is allowed. Wait a minute. Will, did I send that story? I'm sorry. Back to Michigan very quickly. Dr. West is going to be on the ballot. He, Judge Robert Redford. I'm not lying. That's the name of the judge. Judge Robert Redford ruled that the West campaign can be on the Michigan presidential ballot. Again, it's a law similar to the one outlined in Pennsylvania, but or in Georgia. See, again, all of this shit is all fucking confusing. But the point is, the judge ruled that whatever West did was perfectly fine. Like the affidavits that were signed by the electors that were pledged to him were acceptable to this judge. Okay. The Michigan Democratic Party and the Democrat who is the Secretary of State in Michigan, Jocelyn, what's Jocelyn's last name? Starts with a B. Anyway, Jocelyn, the Secretary of State in Michigan, has vowed to appeal this judge's ruling that allows Cornel West on the ballot. So the Democrats didn't even take this loss in court gracefully, beloveds. They intend to appeal to make sure that Cornel West specifically and the rest of them. I don't know if Claudia was on the ballot in Michigan or not, but Dr. West in particular is going to be on the ballot in Michigan. Now that could be consequential because Dr. West has been, if there has been no issue that Cornel West has been on point in 100% right about, it has been the genocide in Gaza, right? And rightfully calling out not only Netanyahu, but calling out Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, all as war criminals. Accurately. Good job, Dr. West. That is correct. And if there's any state in this whole battleground electoral map in which that issue in particular could literally make the difference of who wins and loses Michigan, it is the issue of the genocide in Gaza, because of the number of Palestinians that live in and around Detroit, that live, what's that, Wayne County, what's that out there? Dearborn, all them Arabs live out there, Arab Americans, decades, generational folks, you know what I'm saying? By the tens of thousands, many of them registered voters being represented in Congress by the only Palestinian in Congress, Rashida Tlaib. You got Dr. West back on the Michigan ballot. Could be problems for that Kamala Harris. It's going to be problems for Trump and Kamala, to be perfectly honest, right? But we know more so for Kamala. And the Democrats are scared shitless. So it is okay for them to usurp democracy. It is okay for them to kneecap the opportunity for voters to cast votes for the candidates of their choosing. It's okay for Democrats to do that because, it's in the greater good to keep Trump and his real fascism out. All the while not acknowledging that any denial of people to be able to freely cast a vote for the candidate of their choice is indeed fascism and is indeed undemocratic, something that the Democrats are very gleefully participating in. And this is where it comes back to us, everybody. And I know when I say us, I mean like Black people, us, and the whites that are down with us. You know what I'm saying? The John Brown Brigade is down with us. The Afro Latinos is down with us. The rowdy Asians is down with us. You know what I'm saying? We standing together for the working people. It is a must. Damn, I forgot where I was going with that. I'm sorry. Y'all know I smoke a lot of weed. Oh, but my point is, it's the game. The game, kids. Why are we out here falling for game? Why is y'all mama and daddy out here falling for game? Why is y'all auntie and uncle out here falling for fucking game from Kamala and the goddamn Democrats? We had this game run on us in 2008, right? Obama came in here, big promises, promising big things, even big global things, so to speak. You know, he pledged to be better on climate. He pledged to be better. I no, that's a lie. He said he was going to close Guantanamo. Obama came in pledging a lot of shit. Okay, and what did we get? We got worser economic conditions for Black folks. We had fewer Black people who were homeowners. We had increased unemployment amongst Black folks, even though I think the unemployment numbers are fugazi anyway. But regardless, our metrics, our material metrics as Black folks did not improve under Barack Hussein Obama. Okay. And if you think that it's going to improve under Kamala, what's Kamala's middle name? Joyce? What is it? Karen? If you think it's going to improve under Kamala Karen Harris, you got another fucking thing coming. And we need to tell our people that. And for every reason that your parent or your elder, or God forbid, even your spouse, sibling, whoever are the big liberals in your life, whoever the big Democrats are in your life, every time they tell you, well, if Trump gets into office, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, let us look at what has happened under Joe Biden. Okay. We have seen skyrocketing inflation. We have seen an ignoring of the COVID pandemic, because the fact that we are in a COVID surge right fucking now and everybody knows it. You know somebody right now who is sick with COVID. I promise you, you do. Okay. And all we get is these little news blurbs. Oh, well, the CDC is recommending everyone above the age of 6 months and over get a booster. Well, can you tell us why? Is there some reason for that? Is there something particular to the new strains or variants of COVID that makes the previous strains that, you know, killed over 1 million people in America? Is there something about these new strains that are worse? Do we need to know with symptoms? Nope, they don't give a fuck to tell you about any of that fucking information. And yet they will lay the bulk of the COVID pandemic at the feet of Trump. And I think really blame should be equally shared by all, okay? Because I don't see in the ways that Joe Biden is even keeping up with the numbers at all. Like, we don't know how many people are dying right now from fucking COVID. They don't even count that shit. What do you call that? The intentional withholding of healthcare data from the public with something that is now endemic. Don't we keep track of the flu? We absolutely do. How come we're not hearing nothing about COVID numbers? Because them shits is bad. That's why. What else happened under Biden? What else? Oh, yes. We are in two proxy wars. One proxy war being waged in Ukraine with against somebody who is not afraid to let the chopper sing, by the way. Okay? We can keep fucking with Putin if we want to. Okay? I would prefer that we didn't, because I live in proximity to Washington, D.C. My good comrade Jacqueline Luqman reminded us that we are in the vaporizing zone. Okay, like where I live, if a nuke were to hit DC, oh, it's curtains, baby. Immediately I'm going up to yonder in a nanosecond. All right, so I would prefer if you know we don't really antagonize Mr. Putin too much, but also the proxy war, or rather the funding and arming of Israel to commit an unspeakable genocide against the Palestinian people, right? This all under Joe Biden. We could go on, but there's more. And I'm not assured that a Trump president equals these other bad things not happening. They're all going to happen, because this is the ethos of America. This is the train that America is on. America is not even democratic for its own people, for its own citizens. Both parties are quite guilty of this. They call it a duopoly for a reason. And quite frankly, it is deeply unsophisticated and naive and childish and unrealistic to think that either one of these fucking parties has any of our best interests at heart. They don't. They don't give a fuck about democracy here. They don't give a fuck about spreading democracy abroad, whatever that looks like. Any country that is getting the attention of American leadership, and they're telling like American presidents saying, we want to bring democracy to your country. Y'all better fucking run. You better run and hide your kids and hide your wife. If America wants to bring democracy to your country, y'all are fucked. Okay. It's gonna turn out bad. So at what point are we going to set aside the pretense that this political system does anything to help us? Does anything to benefit us? It doesn't even want our minimal participation, right? It doesn't even really want us to be fully engaged in voting. But at the end of the day, they understand that whether it's Trump or whether it's Kamala, either way, special interests win. Okay, the military industrial complex wins. Boeing wins. Raytheon wins. Okay, they all fucking win. Blackwater, what's the motherfuckers who them terrible motherfuckers are? Blackstone, Black Knight, what's them niggas called? Blackwater, you know who I'm talking about. They win. They win. The mercenaries that get the huge defense contracts to go in there and coup leaders of countries whose interests we don't agree with, which means capitalism interests don't agree with, they win. We as the working American folks, or proud of me, those that are Black in America, I'm trying to adjust how I refer to myself because I don't feel very American, even though my people have been here literally hundreds of years. Fuck all your ancestors who came across to Ellis Island, bitch. I've been here, okay? Me and my folks been here, okay? I don't want to hear no immigration migrant fucking story, especially from the Europeans. Talking anyway, let me calm down. because I've been here, and I'm ready to go. And if we have any racists that would like to facilitate my exit from America, to facilitate me going back to Africa, as it were, our cash platforms are BIDWKB. That's us on Cash App, Venmo, PayPal.me/BIDWKB, Patreon.me/BIDWKB, Patreon.com. Because I'm here to take all your money to go back to fucking Africa. Please, please, and thank you. Send it yesterday. Democrats, don't be fooled. And to be clear, and I say this, and it should not even have to be said. I am not encouraging people to get hip or get wise about Kamala Harris because I want Trump to win. Incorrect. It is fuck Republicans. It is fuck Donald Trump. It is fuck Democrats. It is fuck Kamala Harris. It's the whole system, everybody. I want the system to fail and fall down, okay? Because it's exploited us for too long. We are too divided amongst race and class, and for why? Poor and working class white folks are out here getting fucked. The only difference is they're not out here getting shot by the police to boot, right? But we need them to smarten the fuck up and understand that your children are being miseducated out here. Your healthcare is going unaddressed out here. Your wages have been stagnant and are being stifled out here. Now, this is shit that Black and Hispanic people already know, but the racist Trumpy whites, y'all seem to think that Trump is just, once he gets it this time, he's gonna look out for y'all. The fuck. And then I feel bad for the poor whites because they be lying to themselves and each other. You know, oh, Trump's taxes. Motherfucker, you work at Walmart. You're not even management at Walmart, white person. You talking about Trump tax structure. Get the fuck out of here. You don't make enough money to even qualify for Trump's tax cuts and tax structure and all that shit. He ain't even talking to you or about you. But because white folks and basically people in this country, but especially white folks, are quite delusional about their economic station and opportunity, when Trump talks about taxes and tariffs, y'all motherfuckers really think that shit is some shit applied to you. Incorrect. So anyway, back to Democrats. Y'all, don't let your liberal friends get this game run on them. Please tell them who is actually suing to keep non-two-party candidates off of the ballots. Tell them who is really suing to keep Dr. West and Claudia De la Cruz and Jill Stein off of the ballots. Tell them what that actually is. Tell them how that is the opposite of democratic. Tell them how it kind of smells like fascism coming from Kamala and the Democrats.